STMK Radio 100. 100. 100.
Sorry that I gotta play this game with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know that I can't be touched when I'm rolling through your
I'm untouchable.
Sorry that I gotta be this way with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know when it comes to the game, we'll see it through.
I'm untouchable.
I'm still a firm believer of running the house, so you know what comes next. It's the gun in the mouth. 50 stacks, 60 seconds, and I'm in and I'm out. I may be the reason in your hood if it's a drought, but don't take it personal. It's all a part of the game. You know you got the dope boys and the jack boys, man. You know you got the DTs and the dope fiends, man. So don't take it personal. It's all a part of the game. Now everybody say they bust K's, no reason to front. I hop out with a tray pound and red dot your fronts. I turn your grill to rose gold, dog. Is that what you want? Long barrel or the snub, either way I'm a dump. Cause hot lead through your frame, leave your body on slump. This ain't the dirty South, boy. Ain't nobody gon' stump. K-16 ride dirty with the gats in the front. So when we outside the club, ain't no need to pop trunk.
Sorry that I gotta play this game with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know that I can't be touched when I'm rolling through your
I'm untouchable.
Sorry that I gotta be this way with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know when it comes to the game, we'll see it through.
I'm untouchable.
Been a long day, been a long time coming, dog. Never thought I'd ever see the day when I could rest my head in peace, but I'm here now. Living unscathed, steady hanging my head in sorrow again. Screaming, Lord Jesus Christ, would you please come help this soldier down? Damn now. Now I'm on my knees every night, hoping God doesn't get to come and take my life. I'm a bad, wicked man, I know. Straight land, young thug with the calico flow. Always been on the end of my tongue, lynch hung, got a place for the G1. Dropped in the pits with the calico Lee son. Listen up when the general say something, cause you know it's about to be real talk. Never throw salt when the general walk. High as a kite, so I'm ready to fight for the right to be me with a hell of a bite. I was bred for the face, so you better be right. Every day I'm on my grind. My man, I've never lost a fight. So I keep on king top 9. Sipping Hennessy, I need my drink top dog. 20 million reasons I should be cut off, but you don't get the bone from the mouth of a dog. This is me with the mic turned on. General Lee got a lie for the code. O to the 40216. Repping to the fullest, how the K-16. Sorry that I gotta play this game with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know that I can't be touched when I'm rolling through your
I'm untouchable.
Sorry that I gotta be this way with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know when it comes to the game, we'll see it through.
I'm untouchable.
I ain't on no block pitching, I still in toe steel. I give a fuck how you feel, cause it's real in the field. I'm from the land of the heartless, getting it how I live. Fuck a Pyrex pot, give me a throwaway Glock. Why stand on the corner, watching out for the cops, when I can kick through the door like I work for the SWAT? See, I'm on that Project Pat, so I murder or rob 'em. Don't blame it on the drugs, blame the shit on my father. See, it's in my DNA, so now shiny a problem. Everybody always say the Jack boy no more problems, but we out here robbing, so you know we got problems. And I'm feeling like the homeless, so you know that I'm starving. Hannibal Lecter in these streets, dope boys on the menu, and I'm on that lynch hung. Forgive the evil that men do. K-16 with an M16. You better pray that you don't get hit. It's gangsta shit.
Sorry that I gotta play this game with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know that I can't be touched when I'm rolling through your
I'm untouchable.
Sorry that I gotta be this way with you.
Soldier, I'm untouchable.
Y'all know when it comes to the game, we'll see it through.
I'm untouchable.
Sorry that I gotta play this game with you.
Soldier,
STMK Radio 100, the podcasting station that brings you the Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 radio talk show that keeps it real, no sugar. STMK Radio 100 also presents At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller Show. Check out Brother Bill's Bible Study radio broadcast here on STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central. STMK Radio 100 does USTREAM Live TV, FaceTime, phone interviews, chat rooms, the new emerging artist show, sports talk, dance music shows, book reading shows, and much more coming very soon right here on STMK Radio 100. Contact us. Visit our website at stmkradio100.com or email us directly at stmkradio100@aol.com. Give us a call at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Call us now. STMK Radio 100.
STMK Radio 100. 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Shawn L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100. 100. 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a KickBaC production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
It's not that we don't know that we have a problem. We've known it for years. It's not that we don't know what the solutions are. We've known those for years. The problem is we haven't done anything about it.
What I filed today was a criminal complaint against police officers in East Cleveland.
Real Deal 88. Politically, this is the great nation of Cuyahoga County, for starters. Secondly, the state of Ohio isn't coming up here to do anything. Let's reflect. Didn't the state offer the city of Cleveland money to take over East Cleveland? Follow the money, folks.
The residents have already gathered the necessary signatures on a petition to disband the East Cleveland Police.
Good evening and welcome to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100. Tonight, we got a special treat for you. Shawn Mack and K-16 is in the Blue Room with the hit single, Real Killers. And that's going to be coming later on in the show. Last week, we talked to Mrs. Crenshaw, and we did a story on the East Cleveland Police Department about them failing to do continuous professional training. And tonight we're going to finish up that part of our part two right here. We may be able to get the mayor, the former mayor, Eric Jonathan Brewer on the phone.
I'm really hoping we get him on the phone.
Yeah, we really want to do this, but because we did a public record request, and we're gonna get him, see if we can get him on the phone so he can talk with us. Because this situation right here, the activists, the county, and the state is really complex about this, okay? Because they don't know what they're going to do, Sex Man.
Well, what can they do? I mean, legally.
Because the bottom line is this: the county is not in a position to come in there and do policing for that. But our IT guy is telling us we got Eric Jonathan Brewer on the line for you.
Oh, we got my friend E.J. Brewer. How you doing, Mr. Brewer?
Good, Sax, man. How are you?
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on the line with me. So what's been going on with you out there?
Everything is just wonderful, man. Just
way to go.
Keeping the dollars coming in my pocket. That's all.
Are you sharing the wealth?
Absolutely.
All right. I know we live. I'll be over there later. But let me ask you a question. First I'm gonna start off. This guy on the phone, Eric Brewer, is one of my good buddies. I know him a few years, but I like him because he keeps me straight, and he allows me to keep him straight. So we work together. We have a good radio rapport with each other, and that's why I like to keep him on. I love to keep him on the radio. Bring up whatever things. He always got something good going. He got that book. I still haven't got a chance to read that book, but we're gonna get around to that. But let's get to it. My question to you, sir. The continuous professional training in East Cleveland. Let's talk about these East Cleveland officers and a certification for the continuous professional training, and your part as the mayor of East Cleveland doing those terms when they're supposed to be going through the CPT. Can you talk about that for me?
Well, what I can tell you is that Mariah Crenshaw started sharing some information with me about the arrest of her grandson by Larry McDonald and Kenneth Lundy.
Oh, okay. So,
a couple of months back.
Okay, so she
had started it off.
Oh, okay.
In terms of that, but what had happened prior to that is that I had sent a public records request over for the police officers who were involved in the high-speed chase that hit 13-year-old Jaden, that caused Jaden Paulino to be hit. 13 years old. He was the boy over there on St. Clair Avenue, and he was thrown 50 feet in the air. He's still injured. People have forgotten about him, but the police officers who chased him, the driver out of East Cleveland, ran the license plates, found that there were fictitious plates. In this particular case, I believe, I don't know if the car was stolen or the plates were, the sticker had expired, because an expired sticker would also be fictitious plates to some extent. But the reality is that the chase led to some acts that hurt this child, and I wanted to see if the officers were legal when they were when they were using leads, when they were performing the duties of a police officer. So I sent a public records request over, and I published that public records request on my Facebook page. And when Mariah had problems with her grandson, I told her to get that public records request, as I've shared with other people, and send it as a template and ask for the same records that I asked for.
Oh, okay.
So when she did that, that's how she uncovered that their OPATA certifications, Larry McDonald, actually in Larry's case, he was not appointed with East Cleveland. East Cleveland did not appoint him officially. The Attorney General's office was not notified when he started working. He was appointed in University Circle, and Lundy had been operating with a cease and desist order, and they had also found out, or she had also learned that there were some other issues with him from CMHA.
Yeah, she explained that. Yeah, she explained all that.
Okay, good. So you've got all of that information
Yes,
with him
yes.
asking women to
She was
expose
on
their
last
breath
week.
for food.
Yeah, she
Good,
was on
good,
last week,
okay,
and she explained
good.
all that to me last week. Now, I want to know is when you was mayor, okay, there was an officer that you fired, several that you fired. Yeah, Lang.
Yeah, fired and prosecuted.
And
Go ahead.
prosecuted. Okay, could you explain that one?
Well, I mean, which one? You know, I mean, I started off.
Pat Lang. Pat Lang.
With the chief of police. Let me just say this.
Go ahead.
That in light of what's taking place with what happened with these OPATA certifications, one of the things that I learned through management of a police department was that, number one, mayors are not trained to know this shit. That's number one. Okay. Number two, the reality is that the police culture itself of upper management is very much self-contained. And in East Cleveland, the council passed an administrative code section that required the mayor to only hire police officers from within that department. So that meant that you never got anyone with an outside perspective coming in and bringing the type of reforms that a reform-minded mayor might have wanted. You got a bunch of douchebags, corrupt assholes who should never have been police officers in the first place.
Okay.
But because they're hired, trained, performing the duties, and you're new and don't know all the history of each individual police officer, and you have to start from day one working with the first set of incident reports you get, you have things that you learn later through management if you're diligent, and some of the things that I learned about the management of the police department.
So what could you have done about it? What could you have done about it? What could you have done about it?
The thing that I think that the state has done wrong is with documents that require the signature of a law enforcement officer, the top law enforcement officer, the police chiefs are signing these documents, and they're being accepted both by the Attorney General and the Highway Patrol. And when, in truth, what should be happening is that when there is a cease and desist order telling a cop not to perform the duties, or if there are other issues involving the management of the police department, the state, the feds, and everyone else should notify the mayors, not the chiefs of police.
So, Eric, how many of those officers received any cease and desist letters while you were mayor?
I wouldn't have any idea. I saw the first cease and desist letter when I saw that both Cardilli and Paula Robinson, prior to my term in office, had been issued a cease and desist order, I believe, in 2005.
So that's when you fired them then? No. That's when you...
I did not take office until January 1, 2006, but by the time I took office, as I've learned from reading the documents that I got from Mariah, they were compliant by the time I took office.
Oh, okay, so they must have knew.
But here's the problem, though.
Go ahead.
Had I known that a year or so, or 2 years prior to me taking office, that they were non-compliant for the years that they were in office, I would have prosecuted both of them.
Okay.
I'm just telling you right off the rip.
Even after they was incompliant when you came on?
Because Paula was non-compliant for 13 years. That meant that she was told for 13 years, sometime in the 90s, she was told to cease and desist performing the duties of a police officer.
Okay.
And Cardilli, they instructed him in 2000, and 5 years later in 2005, in August, I believe it was, they were both told to cease and desist, and then they were allowed to become current. But, you know, using words like compliant would not be right, because compliancy would have required them to cease and desist as soon as they no longer were certified.
Okay, I got you.
So it's just like your driver's license. So the fact that you continue to drive and you become current, Ed Fitzgerald, for me, should have been prosecuted for every fucking mile that he drove while he was county executive, running around the state in a county vehicle, running for governor. He should have. I don't even know why this man isn't under a fucking jail right now.
Okay, so now that the case involving the grandson, what's the story on that? How's that going?
Well, I don't really. That's her business, so I'm not going to really discuss it. I don't follow the case. I'm not dealing with her lawyers. You know, that's Mariah and her family's business, so I'm going to leave that for her to discuss.
Right. I'm gonna have her back on.
Let me share you with one of the things that's been shared with me.
Okay, go
ahead. Share this with you.
What?
This is very exciting right now about what's going on.
It's exciting, okay?
So, yeah, I'm telling you, man. So what Mariah has learned is that this guy, David Simperman, who is currently a police officer in East Cleveland, is under an FBI investigation for forging lottery information. And I think it was tickets, right?
Wow, okay.
They are also investigating him. Todd Walker is the chief of police down in New Amsterdam, Ohio. He's turned information over to the FBI about 15 badges that he forged for individuals working for the East Cleveland Police Department, and for him purchasing items for under the name of Tenable through the Amsterdam Police Department. And it was one of those, two of those items were cars, and there were other items that were purchased for Tenable through that police department.
Tenable is a security agency, correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
And the real question is, what is he doing down there in Amsterdam, Ohio, in Jefferson County, 20 miles south of Steubenville, purchasing cars for Tenable and hiring or appointing East Cleveland police officers to the Amsterdam Police Department that the current chief, Todd Walker, he called each and every one of them, canceled their appointments, and none of them ever worked for the police department.
Okay. So
there's another officer down there who has alerted the mayor in writing about the forged badges. So the mayor turned that over to the FBI. So a police officer currently under federal investigation is working in East Cleveland and also without OPATA certifications.
Now.
And that's the thing that is the problem for all of us when, as you well know, you receive a cease and desist order. We don't gloss over this. You have to stop performing the duties of a peace officer and wearing a weapon.
He's on duty right now, doing this right now.
Correct, right now. Now, Cardilli, here's what's interesting. Cardilli is the chief of police.
Okay.
For the last 2 weeks, since I've exposed this information on my Facebook page, and Mariah she exposed the video. She's received over 30,000 views on that video. I'm about to take it national because I'm moving into an Eric Jonathan Brewer website that deals strictly with news. So my news is going to be almost like the EJB network.
Well, it's about time.
Absolutely, it has to be. And so what's happening is that there is so the city, the mayor, so here's what's going on. Down in the state, the Gardner was telling people that they had asked for Scott Gardner as the detective, and he's also working without OPATA certification as the head of the Detective Bureau.
Okay.
And also a convicted felon. He's got a felony indictment and conviction in Medina County for some kind of tax fraud shit. And this is second. Okay.
Okay.
The point is that, they were telling the council and the public that they are getting an extension. But you can get an extension if you request one prior to the day your date expires or your license or certification expires. But if you don't request it before it expires, there are no extensions. So the fact that they claim to have requested an extension is, number one, an inappropriate. It's just not going to happen. Number two, one of my people that's been looking into this has confirmed with the state that they have not even submitted a request for an extension. So you've got Cardilli over there right now. He's not wearing a badge. He's not wearing a gun. He's wearing a walkie-talkie, but he's still getting paid to play the role of a police chief.
Okay.
Now, that's some fucking bullshit. He should be fired. He should also be prosecuted for theft in office and obstruction of official business, dereliction of duty, and every arrest that he's engaged in, every arrest of every police officer who continued to operate in violation of the cease and desist has to be investigated. Criminal charges have to be filed against the officers who failed to cease and desist. And those cases that involve their arrest have to be overturned because they were not peace officers. They were impersonating peace officers.
So you saying
that's the big problem.
So you saying Larry McDonough is the person in the police officer?
Absolutely.
For
in
East
Cleveland,
East Cleveland.
appointed.
Okay, for East Cleveland.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
he can work in University Circle.
Okay. Now, what's your opinion on the disbandment of East Cleveland? Do you think they will, or you think it's a good idea?
Well, I think that East Cleveland has demonstrated, number one, that no one in the leadership of the city government, the mayor, the council, the prosecuting attorney, the judge, the chief of police are responsible enough to manage a law enforcement agency.
Okay.
They've not demonstrated it with the lack of training in all areas, the lack of compliance in all areas, and even things as routine as the annual statistics and police reports that have to be uploaded to the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics. That doesn't even happen.
So who's
the
to blame for all this? Who do we blame for this?
It's the mayor in East Cleveland, and it's the attorney general who is responsible, this Richard Michael DeWine, who has failed to perform the duties of the attorney general to get these officers who are not certified off our streets and prosecuted.
Now you know he's running for governor, so you know he's going to be kind of delicate about all this stuff right now going on.
Fuck him. I'm not going to be delicate about this at all. And that's why I'm going to my website rather than Facebook. If you've noticed over the last week or so, I stopped posting on Facebook.
Noticed. I was going to comment on that. You've been kind of quiet there, Eric. What's going on, man?
Yeah. Well, I'm not quiet. I'm just moving to another forum.
Moving to another, okay.
So, So, what's the point in me making, Mark Zuckerberg, Richard?
Yeah.
Fuck him. I mean, I'm the one that's built up the audience through his format, and there's virtually no difference between what a blog looks like on Facebook versus on my page, my website, ericjonathanbrewer.com. So for me, it makes sense to write my material on my website and then to have ads for my website and opportunities for me to make money off my work.
Okay, so we about to wrap this up with your interview here. I got a question. When we gonna get together, man? If we can blow our horns, man. You can blow your trumpet, I blow my sax. What's up?
I mean, I can play right now if you want. What do you want to hear?
On that note, this is Eric Jonathan Brewer, my good buddy, my good friend. Man, I love you, man. Thank you for coming on, and we're gonna have you again, okay, Eric?
All right, brother. You take care. Thanks for the invitation.
All right, be good. That was Eric Jonathan.
Yeah, no, right there. You know, Sax Man. He explained a lot of stuff that we was getting ready to go into. He explained a lot because
that's why I let him talk.
Right, because if you look at this, that's even deeper than what Mariah said. But I'm not a conspiracy person, okay, and I don't go with the rumors. But he said something that everybody was talking about this young man.
I don't think they're rumors. The stuff that he's talking about, I think those are factual.
Well, I just said he explained something. It was a rumor. Remember, everybody was saying that this was a conspiracy because they arrested a young man for murder, and Mariah wouldn't say who the young man was or for a personal reason, but he just said her grandson. Right. Okay, and then you look at the officers involved. There's some serious issues there.
Oh yeah.
Now I was on a panel. I didn't jump in there because I really wanted to understand something that he was saying. And I was on a panel last week, and on that panel, everybody was telling me that this situation right here can go crazy, okay?
Yeah, I think it already got
and I want everybody to understand this. This is going to affect everyone in the region. If you live in Rocky River, it's going to affect you because the sheriff department is not equipped to go into a major metropolitan city. Even though it's only 3.2 square miles long, there's a lot going on in that city.
For a small handful community, it has more crime than the city of Cleveland.
Basically more, but the problem is you're talking about a format setting up. You got to have somebody investigate the robberies. You got to have somebody investigate the homicides.
And they don't really have all that.
But they have homicides.
Yeah,
okay?
They do, of course.
They have a lot of robberies.
Yeah.
They have a lot of felonious assaults.
Yeah.
So the sheriff department can put a car in there to answer 911, but they're not equipped to do a 24-hour service, okay? The voters have the state of Ohio in a lock because nobody knows come November 8th what's going to happen, okay?
If they put it on the ballot,
nobody knows.
Woo, they
but
put
because
it on the
ballot.
Disband
East Cleveland Police Department. So when you look at this right here, I want to say this because the last time the citizens of East Cleveland had to choose between police and red light cameras, They took the they
say
took the,
red
they
light
took they well they choose on the side of the police
Yep.
and is the only city in the nation that voted in red light county
Red light county.
to keep the police. And the problem is this that everybody has to understand, and I think that everybody need to step back for a minute. 12:01 November 9th, if this is on the ballot, and at 8 p.m. if the citizens of East Cleveland vote to disband the police department at 12:01 November 9th, the police department ceased to desist by state law. That means there's no more East Cleveland Police Department.
That means East Cleveland's going to burn.
That means that the sheriff department or the state of Ohio, they're yelling about the troopers being there.
Yeah.
It's going to have to step in. And the problem is, are they capable? Now, I didn't talk to a lot of public county officials. I didn't talk to a lot of state officials. And everybody keep telling me this is not like patrolling Willowick or Lake County, one of those small towns
I don't think the state can handle it.
where nothing happens and they can have a sheriff car go out there and patrol the business.
I don't think the state patrol can handle it either.
But the state patrol can handle it. But
I don't think so,
the problem is this. You're talking about you can't do it with 5 or 6 traffic officers. You're talking about a 70-man operation
Well, see,
here.
that's the whole thing. This is state trooper. They deal with traffic.
No, state troopers deal with a lot.
Yeah, but you got to have investigators.
No,
State investigators do.
No, they do. No, state troopers. See, that's a misnomer. State troopers are set up just like a regular police department.
Okay.
They do security for the governor. They do security for the state house.
Right.
They do all investigations for any state crime or any state building.
That's true.
They do homicide investigations
That's
for
true.
rural area, and they do police services for small towns and villages and
So
and
all
all
these
that.
cops will lose their job. All these
Well,
East Cleveland
well,
police
if the citizens vote to disband it, yes.
Yeah.
Not only the cops, you got dispatchers, you got city workers that work in there.
Everybody.
You got people that's washing the cars.
And
the
it's
police officers.
and
you
there's,
got
a-
trustee,
there's
they all
another
gone.
there's another problem there is who takes control of their prisoners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you got to have
place
to place them.
Yeah.
Then the problem that the activists haven't thought about, and this is what I brought up before, they lose local control because if the state troopers come in, the activists are going to have nothing to say about how the state troopers operate. If the sheriff department come in, the activists are not going to have the citizens. Forget that.
What is the activists' biggest problem with the police?
Well, they say the police is violating people's rights and they want to disband the whole police department. But the problem goes back last week when we had Mrs. Crenshaw on.
Oh, that same problem.
Yeah,
Right, that same problem.
About non-compliance.
And
Non-compliance.
what we're finding out, we had the ex-mayor Eric Jonathan Brewer come on. Saxman didn't get in too much of the explaining
No,
the
he was
situation,
listening to him on the way
right?
over here.
Because actually, I wanted to ask some questions, but I let Saxman go ahead and deal with it.
because I wanted to hear.
Right. But see, because my question is this: Michael Curdelli, okay, Eric Jonathan Brewer was elected mayor November 4th, 2005. Okay, that's when he got elected. I think he took office January 1st, 2006.
Right.
Pat Lane and the police department had some serious problems. Okay. Eric, I think, was safety director. And this is where I go back to with Eric. One day he's gonna have to come on so he can really get with his kryptonite, because Superman sitting here wanting to ask him some questions, and I got some serious stuff that you didn't have. I want to know. He took over as safety director, but he did explain when he was given the thing is that he was learning on the job as mayor.
Exactly.
Okay, but he also was learning on the job as safety director.
Yep.
And he had a competent law director in Amita Johnson. I know Amita Johnson personally, so I know that she was competent. I used to work up under her as the prosecutor when she was a prosecutor. Okay, now my problem is this, and I want to say this, is that he did an audit over Pat Lane when he fired Pat Lane. He started going through officers' files and everything. When he did an audit, somebody should have caught this. This letter right here, when we did our public record request from 2005, telling police officers to cease and desist and everything, should not be coming out 2018.
Right, that's true.
Okay.
Right. Wow.
Okay.
That's true.
Now, the state of Ohio says that when they send that letter to Chief Pat Lane, they send a letter to the mayor, Eric Jonathan Brewer. Well, not Eric Jonathan Brewer, because
he wasn't mayor then.
I think he got one then, but I'm just going to say I'm not sure on that because I didn't get to ask him that question. But I'm understanding that the mayor got a letter, the law director got a letter, and the prosecutor, because the law director is the prosecutor in East Cleveland, and the county prosecutor got a letter. Okay. Now, this is the problem that I have. The county prosecutor got this letter. Somebody in government in East Cleveland had to be notified that they wasn't taking no more cases from these officers in the county. Because we're looking now for cases from these officers in the county. And we're not finding anything. But so there may be some, there may not be some. But you're talking now 2005. You're talking 13 years ago. Okay? This shouldn't be coming out 13 years later. You fired the chief for malfeasance. This should have been part of the chief's fire. Right. Okay? Because that letter specifically tells the chief, and the new chief was Lieutenant Ralph Spot. Somebody in city government had to be sending forms to the state saying that these officers had training. Okay? We talked about that with Ms. Crenshaw, and she said they was falsifying it, and she said that Eric Jonathan Brewer's name was on some of those forms. I wanted to ask him, how did his names get on those forms? Right. Who did he authorize to sign his name to those forms?
Well, I was hoping he was going to just honestly come out and say.
Well, he said some things, but the thing, what I'm looking at, Saxman, is that if I'm the mayor and the safety director, I'm not letting Tone rubber stamp my name on anything that got to go out to other agencies. Right. Now, he could rubber stamp my name, but I need to review what's going on.
And sign off on it, make sure that I'm okay with
now, that's the problem. That's the problem right here. This is the problem, okay? Because where I got a mixed thing at is Mrs. Crenshaw told us that the citizens of East Cleveland started this up before she got involved. Eric said he started it up, and then when they arrested her grandson
that's when
he gave her the information, and that's where it come from.
So which is which?
So I don't know, but did come back to the conspiracy theory in the beginning that
now it's turned into a conspiracy theory.
That we was going to talk about.
One person is saying one thing, other person is saying another thing.
And it comes back to everybody saying that this comes back from the pictures in 2009. But my whole question to this whole problem right here.
Shawn, you want to go on more in detail about the pictures you're talking about?
No, I don't want to go into detail. Everybody know about the pictures, but you can go in there. But my whole thing is Eric Jonathan Brewer gave our IT guys real good.
Yeah.
That's why I love all the stuff we got here on our computers. September 12, 2007, Eric Jonathan Brewer gave a interview to the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Okay? And he said that the reason he fired Pat Lane was because of some disciplinary problems with misuse of the computer system. And they did a file check of the officers' files. And if you go back and read that article, it says the city official recently checked the officers' files and found no proof of Lane reprimanding anyone for misusing the computer system or training. Okay, so this is where I got a question from this. Okay, somewhere the city officials in East Cleveland or the law director should have known, because this is a quagmire. Okay, and the quagmire starts on, and I want to go back to this, is that they got enough signatures to put it on the ballot. Now, this is the question that I want to kick around to everybody here and go around that. Do you actually think the citizens of East Cleveland is going to disband their police department? It's going on the ballot. The question is, are they going to vote it out? What you think, Tom?
Well, according to what you said about the last vote, to turn out the voters, I think the people that's going to vote are not going to vote them out. The majority of the citizens might want to vote to disband them because they're technically ineffective as is anyway right now. But I mean, it all depends on the voting consensus.
The turnout, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll vote them
what
out.
you think? You think they're going to do it?
I just said what I think.
No,
sir.
you didn't.
He said
you went all around.
I said I don't think the voters are going to vote them out. I think the general public, the vast majority of the people in Cleveland probably want them out, but it depends on the voter turnout. The voters aren't going to vote.
J-Mac,
vote them out.
So they're not going to vote them out.
Right.
No.
Okay.
J-Mac, what you think?
I don't think so at all. I just can't see. I mean, I see all the problems with East Cleveland starting from the top. I can't see people just like voting their only, and it's really not effective, but their only protection out.
Right.
Without a good plan B.
And see, that's the problem. That's the problem I have right now.
Yeah.
Due to the factor of trying to nail the coffin, the last nail in the coffin, nobody thought about the funeral plans.
Exactly.
Okay. And I said this on the panel that I was on, because when you sit there talking to county officials and you ask them, Uh, what are you going to do November 9th for the city of East Cleveland if they disband the police department? And everybody's looking and saying, disband the police department. Are you for real? Are they crazy?
Right.
Right.
People in Rocky River, you looking at the people in Rocky River, and people saying pro police officers. Who's going to go in there?
Yeah.
That's the question. Who's going to replace the people? I mean, I told Miss Crenshaw this, and I said this on the panel. Officers working in East Cleveland, everybody know, got problems in the beginning. Okay, because if they had any good thing about themselves, they wouldn't be in East Cleveland.
My opinion,
Sachs, they might make you.
Yeah,
they gonna keep the police. They might make you chief.
I was gonna go there.
But Sachs was the chief in the
I was the chief in the Hills. I ran that perfectly. Took care of that city.
But Sachs, this is the wait a minute. But Sachs, this is the problem here.
I can do it.
Wait a minute, but Sachs, this problem right here.
But I don't really like.
I can do it. It can be done.
I
It can be
remember
done.
East Cleveland in the '90s, the late '90s. Half of the population is gone from East Cleveland.
Not only that, but Jay.
So I don't understand. Like, what is the big problem?
But-
I mean, no, I see the problem.
We
but-
know why the problem
I
is.
what the problem.
You know what the
No,
problem.
not how it used to be.
wait
I
a
mean,
minute.
like half of that. I remember just by Page in that area right
But
there.
Jay,
they're all gone.
Jay,
There's no
Jay,
apartments over
but
there.
You know what the
Shit
problem
over
is, Jay? The problem is, and this goes all the way.
Payton,
Wait,
too.
Ain't
this
nothing
goes
there.
all the way back to the start of this. The problem is we allow the city of Cleveland and the federal government to go to the projects, take that land, and force everybody out in the neighborhoods on Section 8. Okay? Then we allow, and when I say we, I'm not talking about us, but I'm talking about the community
Right.
and the city officials. They allow absentee landlords to get that Section 8 money, put people on there, let them tear up the property, didn't invest no money. The city didn't force them to invest no money. Then they mortgaged the property off to the hill, and then they walked away and left it for the bank. Okay? And what the bank did, the bank walked away. Now, what the city of East Cleveland and Cleveland should have been doing, and this is where I'm talking about, they should have put a task force together and went and found Saxman and told Saxman, this your bill.
Get over here and fix this building.
Or give us $10,000 for tearing it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? But they let they let everybody walk away.
I agree.
Then they let this bank, the federal government let this bank called the Dutch Bank, where Trump hiding all his money, take people's deeds, and I'm the owner of the property, but they put it in Tone's name, they put it in Jay's name, they put it in Saxman's
And they
name.
ain't getting it out.
They get it in the dog's name.
They ain't getting it back.
And then by the time when the city comes start looking for it, they got 20 different owners. Nobody knows who owned the property. It costs more money trying to find the person who owned the property instead of just tearing the property down. So now the city's stuck with this stuff.
You put
okay?
it in Saxman's name, you ain't getting it back.
Well, you don't want it, Saxman, because the bank walking away from it.
I'm just saying.
But so when you look at this, nobody thought about the plan right there. And you look at it, the same thing's happening in Willowick and Lake County, where all the Italians moved at. Right, Section 8 moving out there. That's your next Ferguson. Okay. East Cleveland.
Richmond Heights.
Right, Richmond. But if you
But
look
the one thing about East Cleveland is they had a long history of crooked extortionist
Right,
politicians
right.
running
From-
that city as
from
well.
the
So they was further digging that
right,
hole.
but you have to
from
look at
the
this tone. Wait a minute, but you have to look at this tone. As
I remember.
As the middle income people and the people begin to flee East Cleveland, the people who's replacing them in East Cleveland, that's how the politicians was able to get away with that. You go back to Unwine when he was stealing. The only reason Unwine in jail because he wouldn't let Jay be the bag man. Okay? He had to do it himself. Okay? Then you go to when Eric Brewer made mayor. Eric Brewer had some good ideas and did some good things, but he had a type of management style in your face. Okay? And probably that's why these problems went undetected, because I'm going to say this. That's your boy, Saxman. I know that's your boy.
Yeah, that's
but
my boy.
From 2006 to 2010.
That's Tone's boy, too.
Wait a minute. Right. But the weed man.
Yeah, right, the weed man.
But from 2006 to 2010, and Tone was right because Boston Heights caught him with weed. Okay.
Well, he already admitted he liked to smoke
Right.
some weed.
So
that ain't no secret.
But let me say this. From 2006 to 2010, I don't care what anybody say. Eric Jonathan Brewer was the safety director, and he was the mayor. That means he was the head captain of the ship. He cannot get past responsibility for this mess that they got right here. Okay, when he fired the chief and put Ralph Spot in there, they should have did a thorough checking and cleaning of the police department.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It can't start before him, jump over him, and then continue
There
on
you
with
go.
every
Right,
administration
right,
after.
right,
Like it can't
right.
just be a
just
leapfrog
get-
over
Right.
you. Like you got to be some accountability in there
And
as well.
now
you know?
he did
Well,
say,
see, that's why I asked him, okay, what was your part in that?
but he did say
Yeah.
he did give us a little bit. That's why I didn't get in and let it go.
And that's why I let him talk.
He said that he
Yeah.
was learning on the
Yeah,
job.
learn on job, yeah.
But the problem is, in 2007, you passed learning.
Y'all get ready to say it. That's a long time.
You passed learning. 2008, you passed learning.
That's a lot of learning.
Okay, so when you start talking about the corruption of the police officers violating people's rights, misusing the computer system, this is on your watch.
Right.
You should have fired it. The chief of police, Michael Carlelli or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Cardelli.
There's no way. If you look at that letter right there, we got on the public record request. And now I know how they got the record because somebody took public records, which is a felony in itself, Sax Band.
Okay.
This is why East Cleveland don't have no records. Remember we talked about the records.
I know.
That's why we can't get no public records because they don't have none because public officials been taking them, keeping them in their own private files. So when they want to drop something on somebody, okay.
That's why you ain't got no money now, Sean.
Right. That's why. Well, this is the whole problem right here. Okay. So when you look at this right here, he was out of compliance in 2000. Okay. There's a person on here that was out of compliance in 91. If you read the letter right here from the state of Ohio, it clearly says right here that he started to work November 17th, 1998 as an East Cleveland police officer, and they didn't receive the appointment letter until
2000 or what?
July 18, 2005. That's 7 years later.
7 years.
That means he wasn't on the roster, and that means that they didn't do an appointment letter. Because remember, the state guy told us at the end of the year when they do the roster, if they don't send the appointment letter, his name's on the roster, then they catch that and send it, make sure that they correct it, okay? So that means to tell me that he wasn't on a roster for 7 years.
7 years. Running around here, not appointed.
Being appointed isn't a problem.
Check too.
Right. See, and this is where I'll come back to where everybody keep talking about these criminal charges, okay? Is administrative code is not criminal. It doesn't apply to the criminal code. All the prosecutors in the state attorney general's office is saying that, okay? So when you go back to theft in office.
Well, Sean, wait a minute. It's only criminal when after they get this cease and desist.
No, it's not criminal because the state of Ohio has already confirmed that they do not have the power to fire a municipal employee.
But no, I'm saying once they receive the cease and desist and they continue on.
The city's supposed to move them into a law enforcement.
But if they continue to go out and write tickets and make stops and arrest.
And the city tells you, if you look on page 7 of the administrative code, any officer who continues in the performance of law enforcement officers' duties will be civilly liable.
Civilly liable.
It didn't say civilly and criminal.
Right.
It said civilly liable.
They could be sued.
They could be sued. Now, I cannot impersonate a police officer if the city of East Cleveland hired
him
me as a police officer.
Exactly.
Impersonating a police officer is me going out in uniform or a police car without the right to do so, and I make up the police uniform and the police car. That's a city car.
But you're being you're being issued a city uniform,
city card, city gun, getting paid by the city.
It's like a paycheck.
It is a paycheck because theft in office is if I tell the city I worked 3 hours overtime and I was sitting in the bar.
Right.
Or if I tell
or punch in and say I'm at work and you go home and go sleep.
Right. That's I'm not talking about no criminal activity now. Okay, I'm talking about
that's simple.
Right. Now, if the city of East Cleveland hired me and Tone to go out and wash police cars, and we go out and wash those police cars, even though that we're not police officers and they put us in police uniform, we did the job that the city hired us to do. That's the city problem.
That's right.
That's the administration problem. Okay, and that's what everybody's saying now. That's why the courts haven't even picked this up. Now, the problem comes back into any person they arrested.
Right.
That's where the problem is at. Any person they arrested, that right there, means they didn't have the authority to make that arrest. So you talking about a lot of cases being overturned or coming back.
And that's what we talked about last week.
And we talked about that last. But see, the problem is a lot of attorneys don't want to deal with that because who's got the money? There's a possibility that a serial killer may have his case overturned and be back on the streets of East Cleveland. Now think about what's going to happen here at Saxman. That I didn't want to say this while Brewer was on the phone, but think about this: if they do disband the police department, and like you just said, the city's going to burn and people going to go crazy, then they got to send the state in there and all this come up. Think about how the people going to feel about these activists or the people who were supposed to be trying to make the city better.
They started this whole thing.
Made it worse than it was.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the issue to think about.
Opened up a can of worms.
And the second issue is I want to say this about right. I want to say this about what everybody's saying. All this has been going on in East Cleveland since 2009.
No, it's been going on since the 80s.
No, I'm gonna go 2009.
Okay.
Because wasn't nobody trying to recall the mayor and going through all that crazy stuff and like they doing now.
People still had a little money in the 80s.
Right.
Oh yeah, they still had money.
In 2009,
the corruption and
right, but in 2009, Saxon, man, the fight between the city and all that really bloomed up over the pictures, and Norton was singled out, and then they started the recalls, and then arresting activists outside the city hall, and the mayor the police chief not letting them in, and everybody taking a stance, and then the big fight started.
Something was said to me about that, they were commissioned to go and retrieve photos and videos and stuff in order to stop his campaign of rerunning for mayor. In other words, I'm talking about E.J. Brewer.
Well, let me say this.
Who was
about
the one guy caught with the picture?
that's Eric Brewer.
Eric Brewer.
But let me tell you about this, Saxman. Right. Now, Saxman, this is the problem I have right here. Nobody knows where those pictures come from, okay? Because the police department, I do not think served a search warrant on his residence. So that's a whole story within itself right there.
That's just his belief.
Right. But because the pictures came out.
What was his belief?
His belief is they came into his home, got on his private computer, and took private photos of him and used it against him.
But I don't think that's true. I'm gonna tell you right now. There's no way that police wait a minute, because he was still mayor. So this is what I'm going to say about that.
When their pictures showed up, he was still mayor.
Right, he was still mayor.
But he was running against Norton.
But who served? Okay, who signed the search warrant? So is he saying they broke in the house?
Illegally, I guess. I'm gonna ask him.
But see, this is the problem I have with that. This is the problem I have with that.
You want me to call him back?
No, because see, this is the problem I have with that right here.
Okay.
Those pictures he had was on a computer. The question is, did his computer break down, and did he take that computer somewhere to get it fixed? Okay, because there's no way I can walk in your house.
Or even further, who took the pictures? Like, who took the pictures? Like
his girlfriend. Well, his girlfriend allegedly.
Oh man.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute now. Wait.
Okay, but even if it was his girlfriend, so who's to say she didn't have copies? And was they still boyfriend and girlfriend?
I don't know.
We don't
she
know.
She might have been a woman scoring. She
right.
might have.
And that's possible. That's possible.
And Saxman, when you say this,
that's possible.
When you say this is the first problem that Eric Brewer had, and I'm gonna say this when he was running for the mayor of the city of Cleveland. Okay. Eric Brewer was running high for the mayor of the city of Cleveland. And I said this then, and I'm going to say it now if you go back look in the show. Black men have a problem with feminine black men or gay men. I don't care what it is. We can't stand on the same boat together.
Right.
Okay? We have a problem right there. Okay? When he got busted in Boston Heights on that traffic stop, nobody knew what was going on with that arrest. Okay? Because he had already been arrested in Akron for the same thing. He was already arrested in Boston Heights a year ago. It wasn't that he was arrested when it came out. That was when the appellate court issued the ruling. Okay, and he should have known then when he was running for mayor that when the appellate court told Boston Heights they was correct due to his anti-police stance that they was going to release that information. Okay. You should have known that everybody in America was going to get the police video, get the body cam. They was gonna hit it. He was running for a high profile position.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Okay.
running for, come on. You know.
So he should have known what he should have did, and plus he was anti-police on random license plate check,
Right.
knowing that he in his thing, and we got his whole case in public record right here too. He said that Boston Heights violated his constitutional rights by doing a random license plate check.
He filed that in the appellate court and lost.
That's correct. And when he filed it in the appellate court,
Twice, didn't he?
what was his number one theme when he was running for mayor of the city of Cleveland? Random license plates check being done illegally by police officers. So he knew right then that every police officer was going to come up, every police union or police, I'm not talking about officers individual, but every police union, not agencies, but union, and them knew when that appellate court decision came down and affirmed that rookie police officer was correct, that he could do random license plates check, and that they had video cam on Brewer, he was under suspension, and all this stuff was going on. And he was dressed like a woman.
He falsified information because he said he wasn't Eric Brewer. He was
right.
Erica.
He was Erica.
So that's a.
But see, the difference is this: that rookie police officer didn't
Don't
know.
Laugh, John.
Didn't know that rookie police officer didn't know the difference. See,
right.
Because when that rookie police officer put him over and he misidentified himself and lied to him, he could have arrested him right there.
He could have.
He didn't know what to do. It took the sergeant to come and really straighten it out. And then they didn't. When they arrested him, they station house released him at the station. They didn't take him in and book him and let him sit in the cell.
Right.
Okay. So when you look at all that happening, he should have known that was coming out. Okay. Front page news that was coming out.
He did though. That's why his life's work ever since then has been this book that he wrote.
Right. He wrote that book.
The random license plate check. That's his life study.
Right. He did the book on that. And he did. Wait a minute. Toe. And he did the book. Wait a minute. This is the problem right here. He wrote the book about random license plate checks, knowing that he has lost that argument 3 times in court. Akron, Boston Heights.
He's gonna die fighting.
No, 3 times.
Three times.
3.
Gotta respect.
Akron, Boston Heights, and the 6th District Appellate Court.
Right. Right.
Okay. So all 3 courts has told him police officers can do random license plates check. Okay. I don't understand where that thing, but I understand where it's coming.
Where the book come from? If the law says we can run plates randomly,
because
where the book come from?
Because the book comes from he wrote that book, and you got to read the ebook like he told you. So when you look at all this,
he go way back to Elliot Ness and all that stuff.
All this problem started back then, and nobody is
Hoover and all that.
Right. And nobody has put up a solution, Tone. Like you said, nobody, not even the activists. Okay, what are we going to do to get the solution together?
Right.
Now, Eric Brewer said earlier that when he found out about it, Michael Cordelli was current as a police officer up in his thing. But if you go back into these records, he went back non-compliance because Miss Crenshaw told you he's been non-compliance for 17 years.
17 years. Yep, I heard that.
Okay, so if it's 17 years, this is 2018.
So since 2001.
Right. So even if he was non-compliant.
So he was non-compliance under Eric Brewer.
Not only that, when you found out he was non-compliance as the safety director and the mayor, you should have fired him.
You should have fired him or at least pulled him off.
Okay, right. You should have fired him because if he violated somebody's rights before you know that. You fired the chief for it.
Right. He's under a cease and desist letter all that time.
Right. Then you fired, he didn't, and then she said he fired
was a police officer first before he came.
The police chief.
Right.
Okay.
But the thing is, if you receive a cease and desist, you got to stop. And if you continue and you going out there and you violating people's rights, that's a civil matter. You need to get pulled off or fired and brought up on charges.
Well,
because you violating people's rights.
Right.
You're not like me. I got to go to the state every year and I got to.
But sex man, this is the
I can't if I forget to recertify. Let's say in 2019, I'm out there arrest somebody. Same thing.
But this is the problem. But this is the problem, sex man. The sergeant, the lieutenant, the chief, the captain, the prosecutor. That's who's supposed to pull you off.
Exactly.
Not me.
That's true.
Okay, if I don't qualify, okay, and I know I don't qualify, I'm not gonna walk in there and give him my gun.
Right.
Okay, I'm supposed to, but I'm not. But the range officer, the sergeant on the range, is supposed to notify the chief that Shawn Howard did not qualify, and the chief's supposed to send a letter to your supervisor or to the mayor. Go over to Shawn Howard's house, get his gun, and tell him he's suspended or he on restricted duty until he qualifies.
They would do it in a minute with us.
So why we keep blaming? See, this is the problem that I have. Why we keep blaming the individual officer? Okay, when the mayor didn't do his job.
I didn't understand that last year. I mean last week.
Right.
I didn't understand that.
The
last
mayor
week.
didn't do his job because the
Well, this is the thing. I
mean, they responsible too. You can't say. I get what you're saying. Like, yeah,
No,
it's their supervisor. It's the higher ups is supposed to ensure that these rules and regulations are enforced.
I'm not gonna quit my job.
But you're supposed to take accountability for yourself too, and not keep digging the hole
They
deeper
get
and
paperwork
deeper.
though. The supervisors get the paperwork and read it.
This
and
is
say, hey, this guy ain't.
This is what I'm saying, Tone.
I get what you're saying. You don't have to,
but I'm not
you
gonna
should.
wait a minute. I'm not gonna quit my job. You gonna do
exactly.
You
like
gonna give up
because
your money?
what did you just say? No, but what did you just say 10 minutes ago? That they could be held civilly accountable.
Right.
So yeah, they might end up giving up money anyway.
But
so if you have any common sense, you gonna stop while you ahead.
Wait a minute. What person gonna give up the money?
Okay, listen.
What person gonna give up their money?
Somebody with some common sense.
No,
they can still They can still go work security jobs. They can still make money.
They're not gonna get fired.
They not gonna get fired.
I'm talking about you. You work for me right now.
You ain't gonna voluntarily just walk
wait
in
a
and
minute,
say,
wait a minute, Sax man. You work for me.
If you understand the consequences, what's gonna come down the
Tone,
line years later.
Let me ask you this question.
If you think you can get away with it, you ain't
let
gonna
me
walk
ask you
in
this
there and
question
do it.
right now.
That's
Exactly.
no problem.
You supposed.
I mean, some.
I said, what did I say? People with common sense.
If you think
half
you
the
can
people
get
not
away
gonna
with
do
it,
it. Half the people not gonna do it.
especially if you think you can get away with it and no one's gonna say anything,
Right.
no higher ups gonna say anything.
Because look at this, Tone. How many people? Wait a minute. How many people? Think about this. How many times do you see on the TV the guys from CEI and Clean Public Power and all that go to a parking lot, sit in their truck, and go to sleep?
Right.
All the time.
Right.
They know that they're gonna get in trouble for doing that. Okay, but they know the supervisor is over here at the donut shop drinking coffee and ain't even coming to look for him.
Right, but I think that's completely different because that's different. Hold on, let me just make my point.
I'm gonna bring it in for you
because that's different from the state official sending a letter to my bosses saying, "Hey, this guy's not following the rules. Get him in line." Okay,
there you go.
So and listen, like I
what you just say, my boss.
Yeah, I understand that the bosses is supposed to enforce that, but if I know that according to page 7, what you said earlier, that I'm the one that can be held civilly accountable, so that they might end up taking money out of my bank account, I'm going to be like, hey, what can I do in the meanwhile until I get myself together?
I mean, that's easier said than done.
If you was that type of guy, wait a minute.
I'm not saying you wouldn't.
Right.
But it's easier said than done because that goes along
with
the same
barbers.
as the barbers.
Right.
They send everybody home. You gotta get certified. You want to?
That's because people want to take shortcuts. I mean,
yeah.
But what can happen if you get caught cutting without your license up to date?
I'm gonna get fined.
Exactly.
But
so you willing to take that risk?
I'm gonna get fined. And the
but Tone, look at this.
Because you know this man does not have his barber.
The city's not gonna get fined. The chief of police. Look, this is why 17 years won. Think about this, Tone. You didn't do your training. I know you didn't do your training. I'm your sergeant. I'm telling you, don't worry about it, Tone. You can do it Friday. You can do it next week. Okay? Did you read this letter?
That's what I'm saying.
Did you read this letter?
That's what I'm saying. If you feel you can get away with it, you ain't gonna turn that in.
I want you to read that letter right there.
I'll read it.
No.
We don't have time for you to read it right now. I get the gist of it.
I want you to read it. When the state told the chief that these people been out of compliance since 91, 92, 98.
Right. I couldn't believe it. I've seen 90.
This is 7 years later. There's no way that you can exonerate any sergeant, lieutenant, captain, chief, prosecutor because the state of Ohio sends it to the mayor, the safety director, the prosecutor. Everybody knows that Tone Stone's not supposed to be out there on that street.
But they're your buddies.
Okay? So it's not up to Tone Stone to remove himself from the street.
Oh, I get that.
It's up to me.
And they not your buddies, Sax. That's your supervisors.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying,
that's really enabling you to dig a hole deeper for yourself.
They're enabling everybody because actually what that is a lazy supervisor who's not taking care of responsibility, who is not thinking about the consequences, and it goes higher than the sergeant, it goes higher than the lieutenant, it goes up there because as the state was putting those forms and sending them, okay, somebody had to say that they had their training. Okay? But hold on to that for a minute, because we're going to go in the blue room for a minute, and we're going to take a break right there, because when we come back, we're going to finish this conversation, and then we're going to talk about respect. But give us 1 minute. We're going to go pay the bill. We'll be right back.
Go get those pictures out your truck.
Yeah.
You're listening to STMK Radio 100.
Shawn Mack and K-16 live in Studio 51 Blue Room with their new hit record from Vegas, Real Killers.
I'm a phenomenon. You one in a million. I'm one and never again. It's the realest shit you done heard. Yes, Shawn Mack, K-16. We on top of the world, baby. Screens falling from the sky, going off the flows. I put them in the head, resting all of my doors. When I crack those, niggas watch videos. Some homemade pinos on my niggas fucking hoes. Ride 19s like fuck your 22s. My diamonds clear as day and I do the damn fool. You can be stunner one, I'll be two. Keep the Belvedere cause I drink Grey Goose. My trunk bang like Bloods and Christmas for the truce. Bumping little flip, watching Halloween deuce. Man, I'm so high I don't know what to do. Behind level 10 so they won't believe it's true. I roll down the window, they like, damn, that nigga blue. Eyes fire red like the laces in his shoe. You may think you know, but you don't have a clue. My clique so thorough, we belong in the zoo. Peace with the chain, switch your lane, that's how we do. Handcuff your man, cause I spit game too. It's Mr. Real Talk, from the dirty, thought you knew. I told your girl that she looked pretty, cause she do. She looked me in the eye, said I'm rolling with you. I didn't have no rubbers, but she knew what to do. I hit the E-way, she was blowing on my flute. Man, I'm loving life, how about you? I done popped the X pill, do you want one too? You keep the stick, I don't fuck with the woo. I don't need a vest, cause the niggas won't shoot. Shit, they better get a vest, cause my niggas shoot. No hating ass niggas gon' do what you do. Hate on me, I ain't gon' hate on you. Fuck around though, and I'ma throw you a few. You can catch a couple, lead the rest to your crew.
You ain't never ever seen a gangster quiet like me.
You know I don't give a fuck and never gave a fuck. I'm just living it up.
No, I hold it down, baby, because I'm certified G.
I'm just living it up. The money can't go with me, so I'm spending it up.
Money ain't a problem, still love me, living comfortably.
Never giving it up. I made it all on my own. You ain't getting above.
Shawty got it live with the players from K-16.
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I got shotties that's as long as my top and coat. You ride 26 inches when you stop, they go. So many diamonds in my chain, it don't shine and glow. Shiny the baker, I'm working with dough. You ain't know, fresh off the showroom flow. First player in the hood with a drop photo. Flip-flop house and lounge on an iced out couch. Every time I hit the booth, I wreck the mic and I'm out. If you see me with a dame, she take me to the mouth. Shout out to my homie Dame, hit me when you get out. I done hopped in the rap game, it's the best way out. But if you roll like Pop, they'll take you out. But when the fan base is big, I can't lose. Jigga bow down, I'm the next to rule. But I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under. Cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the niggas and bitches that act funny. When you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today. But yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Follow with the ramble down the yellow brick road. But people believe at the end, ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
You ain't never ever seen a gangster quiet like me.
You know I don't give a fuck and never gave a fuck. I'm just living it up.
No, I hold it down, baby, because I'm certified G.
I'm just living it up. The money can't go with me, so I'm spending it up.
Money ain't a problem, still love me, living comfortably.
Never giving it up. I made it all on my own. You ain't getting above.
Shawty got it live with the players from K-16.
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
K-16, motherfucker, like an M16. Y'all niggas better duck and get hit. Out the way, let us do our in the field. Whole ass here, stay gun. I'm gonna make him eat the gun. I'm gonna make him taste the slugs. I'm gonna buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shawty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play. I'm gonna make him eat the gun. I'm gonna make him taste the slugs. I'm gonna buck his ass
get some. Shotty popping and dropping, that body rocking. Hey, real killers don't play. We ain't the same. I changed my name to show you how I flip my game. Like gymnasts do backflips, I bag shit like bag shots. Have not, I lay my fire on the iron. What do you desire? Your time's expired from pain, please don't retire. I like the competition, my composition written, I'm spitting, hitting bitches. Uncle me his conscience unconscious, flipping with my comments, thinking, getting money on the block, spitting nights with my fam doc. Watch the problem with my itchy trigger finger, linger here too long, dog. I have you yodel like a country singer, splitting fingers with my homies. He goes only, don't he? They some thugs on drugs, it ain't no future for loonies. That's why I bought my gun. I gotta have some fun. See me sitting on the AK with a lethal tongue. I don't give a damn who I buzz, that I buzz back. Cause I'm just like John Wayne with a tilted hat.
I'ma make him eat the gun, I'ma make him taste the slugs. I'ma buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shotty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play. I'ma make him eat the gun, I'ma make him taste the slugs. I'ma buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shotty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play. The Glock 9s bust like Tech 9s. The Tech 9s explode on houses like landmines. We them street soldiers, dare you to cross the gun line. Cause when we go to war, we be bucking at one time. I see it in your eyes, playboy. You don't want no part of me. I'm the walking dead on track. So you can hit me with a sawed off and blow my leg off, and I still wouldn't fall off. Niggas say they ready and willing until it jump off. Until we get the kicking indoors and shooting up stores. Beat the got thick, so we duct tape your whore. Ain't no love in war, just pain and slugs. Thugs on drugs, low barrel low, I'm banging the snub. And when you beefing with me, it's usually all the above. You claim you a thug, but ran when I lit the first slug. Had me standing in the street like, man, what the fuck? I was about to turn the block to the OK Corral shootout. I'ma make him eat the gun, I'ma make him taste the slugs. I'ma buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shotty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play. I'ma make him eat the gun, I'ma make him taste the slugs. I'ma buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shotty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play. Nowadays, guns, everybody got a lot of. But harm playboy, niggas ain't gon' do me nada. Cause my heater get hotter than Nevada. Barrel be steaming like the inside of a sauna. And I keep the extra clip with the armor. Gotta hit me in the face to take me out the game. A chest shot won't do it, you got to have aim. The ones you think is hard turn out to be the lame. While them dogs barking, me and my bitch just fight. Quiet niggas a kill, we don't never fist fight. You can tell the way I walk, something just ain't right. You can tell the way I walk, that the waistline's heavy. Catch me bucking out the Regal red beam on the Desi. Wait till you see the whites of their eyes and hold steady. A clip full of hollows, turn your 80 to confetti. I know you think you is my nigga, but you ain't ready. I'ma make him eat the gun, I'ma make him taste the slugs. I'ma buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shotty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play. I'ma make him eat the gun, I'ma make him taste the slugs. I'ma buck his ass in the back if he try to run.
Shotty popping and dropping, the body rocking.
Hey, real killers don't play.
Come get some.
Congressman indicted. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. New York Republican Congressman Chris Collins is charged with several crimes, including passing on insider information about a failed drug trail done by a company of which he was a board member. Jeffrey Berman is U.S. Attorney for New York Southern District.
Congressman Collins had an obligation, a legal duty, to keep that information secret until that information was released by the company to the public. But he didn't keep it secret.
Collins' son and others tipped by him sold their stock before word got out, avoiding some $750,000 in losses. College basketball players who declare for the draft but go undrafted by the NBA will be allowed to return to school and play as part of NCAA reforms in the wake of a corruption scandal. Change is part of recommendations made by a commission led by former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, which was formed after an FBI investigation of shoe companies and coaches. I'm Tim McGuire.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Shawn L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
So I can see the sunny days. I done cop some green acres, couple cribs out of state. Yeah, you got some spinning rims, I went and got some real estate. Money keeps the world in motion, this here is attracting. Getting money is a sport, then yes, I am an athlete. No ice on the wrists or the fingers, cause that's tacky. All I need's a pocket full of dough, chain hanging low. Ain't no need to broadcast, the streets gon' already know. Tried to hide my wealth, hood rich, but I'm living poor. Feeling like like a club, cause I'm fiending to get some more. Franklin's calling me, I'm sorry, shorty, but I gotta go. I see dead people, all ex-presidents, pockets like a cemetery, full of dead presidents. On the paper chasing to the dirt is my residence. I gets money and my hustle is the evidence.
I'm a paper chaser, facing life in the streets, you know. I get money, dog, can't be held back. I'm a hustler for real, you know. I get money, all on the blind, working for the miles I gotta feed, you know. I get money, dog, you never see me ashy, I refuse to get beat, you know. I get money, all failed, tested, arrested, come perfected. Gotta get my money, so I'm working right through breakfast. I only been doing this rap shit here for a couple of years, so it's still the thing where the flow will be in a couple of years. I'm down to get money by any means necessary. If I gotta suit up and shoot out, it's necessary. If I gotta pull out them plots, then it's necessary. If I gotta pull up and drive, then it's necessary. It's clearer now to me than it's ever been in my life. The need for money got me willing to take somebody's life. Yeah, and lean it back, floss and all that shit is secondary. Since I see my seeds staring back at me, I'm also ready. Ain't no stopping me now. My head is full of steam. I got a label now. I'm all at K-16. And when them trumpets sound, you know here come the king. I'm here to put it down and get this money, B. I'm a paper chaser, facing life in the streets, you know. I get money, dog, can't be held back. I'm a hustler for real, you know. I get money, all on the blind, working for the miles I gotta feed, you know. I get money, dog, you never see me ashy, I refuse to get beat, you know. I get money, all I'm a paper chaser, facing life in the streets, you know. I get money, dog, can't be held back, I'm a hustler for real, you know. I get money, all on the blind, working for the miles I gotta feed, you know. I get money, dog, you never see me ashy, I refuse to get beat, you know. I get money, all.
You're listening to STMK Radio 100. You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Shawn L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know the theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace. Soul generated by love.
Hey, welcome back. But you know, earlier we was talking with Eric Jonathan Brewer. He was the mayor of the city of East Cleveland, the ex-mayor of the city of East Cleveland. And Saxman, I want to ask you this question, Saxman, because you know somebody in the chat room was clicking on this. Remember last week we asked Miss Crenshaw, you asked Miss Crenshaw something about was this over a young man or something. Tell us about where you was going with that.
Well, I asked her, was her crusade far as this investigation she was going, as far as officers being in compliance with the CPTs, and where did that start? What that stemmed from? And as I talked to her, the more and more I talked to her, I asked her, well, this didn't start until someone that you know related to you or a friend of you got arrested by these so-called officers that you're doing these investigations on.
And what they get arrested for?
The young man got arrested. Well, he's wanted for questioning for a murder, and he got stopped and arrested by these particular officers that she's accusing that's in non-compliance. He was arrested for murder.
Okay, that's the one in juvenile system.
That's the one in juvenile system.
Because in her video, she said there was juveniles in jail that was arrested by them. So, okay, because, I'm not one for conspiracy theory, but Eric Jonathan Brewer said earlier that that was her grandson, and they arrested him, and that's how. So, I was just wondering, because people are saying this is why this is all starting up. But, it goes back to this, and I want to say this about the community and the kids in our community. Jake, Mac, we got to teach them some type of respect.
Well, wait.
Respect is gone. People with morals, it's just not happening anymore. I mean, it's sad. I see it in society, especially when it comes to women. This our teenagers. Even like I see my children do things that I don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? That I didn't teach them. They cut up some bad habits from other people, and it's just sad. I mean, I see in the barbershop, I see a lack of adults taking responsibility for their children, letting their children slide with respect.
Or respect for authorities.
Respect for, that's one thing, is respect for authorities. Even with all the police stuff going on, we were still taught to have respect for police.
But Sex Man,
there's no more respect for authorities. I mean, children walking through the barbershop.
Go ahead, Tone. What you got to say?
No, children
Tone over there giggling and stuff.
No, children will walk in the barbershop and do not speak. Stuff like that. I mean, people over like children. I'm not gonna say children like millennials.
Like Tone.
They think stuff like that is like this cool. Right. I mean, stuff like that is not.
But
cool.
Let me.
They grown. They're not grown, but let them.
But John, let me ask you this question. Is it that they was never taught this or shown? Or is it that they know and they just don't care? That's the question, Tom. What you
for
think?
Me?
Yeah.
I can't speak for everybody.
I'm just talking about general. You can speak general.
Yeah,
you see what's going on in our community.
I'm going to give you my personal opinion.
Right.
I think people show respect to those who earn it. And I think that goes for anybody. Like, so yeah.
I'm talking about our kids.
Wait, yeah,
I'm talking about the kids too. They don't show respect for. You talk about police. They don't show respect for the police because they don't think the police have respect for them. They don't show respect in public because they don't think the society respects them.
That's where I'm going to. That's
so they don't.
So
if they come across as disrespectful, that's because they feel nobody respects them.
No,
but you know what? I must answer that because me and my daughter were walking, and she walked past this older man, and like, you didn't speak to that older man. Like, he ain't speak to me. You speak to that. That's an elder. You speak to him.
You gotta stop and think
about it. If that's the rules you taught, if that's how you raise your daughter, then that's how you should expect them to be.
Exactly.
But everybody don't operate like that.
No. What I'm saying, I see my children do things that I don't think.
John, you guys think about the time we're in. When you was little and I was little, it wasn't about that. It was about showing respect regardless if they spoke to us or not. These kids today.
That's what I'm saying.
These
it's
kids
about
today.
You earn respect by living that old. You're my elder.
You see, and that's why they only living to be 18, 19. They
Saxman, let me tell you this, Saxman, because
and then you know
you my age.
That and I do understand it because like with stuff like that what Tom just said, that millennials like they feel people, they show respect to people, so they don't respect.
That's the millennials' attitude.
But let me say this.
Tone just said
show me some evidence that this millennial generation is any different than any other generation when it comes to respecting authority. When it comes to respecting authority,
I can tell you the difference.
Because the Black Panthers of y'all generation didn't respect authority. They didn't respect the police.
But they wasn't kids.
They were kids.
They respected the black community.
They were teenagers. A lot of them.
They respected the black community.
I didn't say the black community. I said the police.
But they was led. There's a difference between individuals and then individuals being led. Because let me say this, Tone.
No, they didn't have.
In my day, wait a minute, hold on, John. In my day, okay, back in the early 50s and 60s, okay, when I was a millennial and a young man.
Yeah.
When I walk down the street, okay, whether I want to be a smart ass or disrespectful or not, if I didn't say good morning to Miss Johnson, Miss Johnson came off that porch and whooped my ass.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And when she took me to my house, or she called down to my house, because then you know they had to go in the house and get the phone with the rotary dial.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And she called Dolores LeBrec and told her Shawn was just down here and he got smart with me and I whooped his ass.
Yep.
When I got to the porch and I'm crying, my mama did not come out on that porch and ask me, why you crying and why Miss Johnson whooped your ass. My mama came out on that porch and got a piece of my ass.
That's
Okay,
right.
now
And
let me
turned
ask you
me
this.
around. Wait a minute,
That's
hold on.
right.
And turned me around.
That's right.
Made you go apologize. So let me ask you this. Even though Miss Johnson would whoop your ass for being wrong, and Miss LeBrec would encourage her to check you if she caught you being wrong, in the neighborhood you grew up with, it was still a bunch of disrespectful kids your age running around there, wasn't it?
No.
Yes,
Nobody
they-
was disrespecting my age.
come
because
on,
because you
man.
know why? If anybody, no, I'm gonna tell you why, Tone.
No,
I'm
Tone,
gonna tell you. In my day,
thinking right
no.
now,
In my day,
Tone,
no.
I can think of one.
Because you
No,
know
Tone.
why? You know why, Tone? I'm gonna say this to you, and your granddaddy upstairs, and anybody else would tell you. Your granddaddy took cat o' nine tails and whooped other people's kids' asses.
So why did he have to whoop kids' ass all the time if they weren't disrespectful?
They were kids. They were out of line. They got
But
put
if
in
they weren't
place.
being disrespectful,
You
why
don't
did they have to get their ass whooped?
You didn't have to be disrespectful.
Not disrespectful.
You didn't
could
have
be
to be
bad.
disrespectful.
You could just be bad.
You could forget to do something.
Yeah, you know, and you get
You
a
could
whooping.
forget. You could
didn't
throw a
come
piece
in the
of.
house,
So what
right.
y'all sitting here trying to tell me now is that everything was no disrespect to y'all generation, and all of a sudden we have a whole generation
Not
full
like
of
it is
disrespectful
now.
people. So what
No,
happened?
no,
So
not-
y'all dropped the ball. Y'all raised the disrespectful nation.
I'm
then.
about to
A
answer.
disrespectful generation.
I'm
then.
about to
I said
answer.
I'm gonna
that.
say one thing for one, it's crack cocaine.
Yep, that started it.
Okay, yeah.
That
See,
started it.
Okay, yeah.
I will
That
be
started it.
47 next week.
That started
So
it.
I remember all the 70s.
Well, I'm not gonna say.
I remember.
It was junkies long before crack.
No,
came
no,
wait a
along.
minute.
no. I remember. I remember all the needles in the sidewalks. I remember that. Okay, I remember that growing up before even heard about anything about some cocaine. But I could think of one person in the neighborhood that was disrespectful, and he stayed getting his butt whooped. And I can't really say he was disrespectful.
He was just a bad kid.
He was just a bad
But
kid.
Jay, let me say
But,
this.
I mean, you didn't have disrespect because it was not tolerated.
But let me ask you this
It
question.
was not tolerated.
So what's your definition of disrespect then? Because you talking about kids getting butt being bad. What's disrespect then?
Can I
Are we
answer?
talking about kids being bad, or are we talking about disrespect? What do you mean by
I'm talking
disrespect?
about
Can I
disrespect.
answer?
I'm talking about disrespect.
What do you mean by
I mean,
disrespect?
first of all,
Because they don't speak to somebody?
No.
They might got a world of a world of shit going through their mind. They might not be in the right time to speak to nobody.
Can I answer it? Can I answer it, please?
You let Jay answer, then you can answer because he brought it up.
First of all, this cussing in front of adults. I never heard. I just told my children one day. I know you cuss.
Do you cuss in front of your kids?
Huh?
Do you curse in front of your kids?
Yes.
Yeah, okay then. So you can't. So they learn from you. What's
Yes.
disrespect?
Yes.
What's disrespect? They showing the example that you taught them. What's disrespect?
Oh, true. I take as an adult, you have to take some
So
responsibility.
what's disrespect then? That's not disrespect. They doing what they have been taught.
First of all, I'm not going to say so much respect, because respect is one thing, but just morals. I just see the stuff I just see nowadays. Like, why this? I just don't, even as an immature person, I didn't do certain stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
especially with these phones.
I want to know what disrespect is.
Let me say
like,
something.
Why is this generation being considered disrespectful? How are they any different than any other generation?
let me say
That's what I want to know.
But it's
Let
not the
Sax Man talk,
same
please.
disrespect
Let
that
Sax
is
Man
being
talk.
portrayed right
Please
now.
let Sax Man.
Sax, go ahead.
The difference is this. When we did something wrong as a child or as a teenager, we accepted our responsibility, we accepted our punishment, and we went on about it. We didn't get angry about it and pout and want to fight back against our parents or against authority.
That's been happening since the beginning of time.
No. I'm telling you. We didn't fight back.
Okay.
the millennials, I'm going to say the millennials are fighting back because they got all this extra stuff. We got too many people saying, oh, it's once they took punishment out of the homes and out of the schools, the millennials started fighting back because now there's no more discipline. Without discipline, your kids, it says it in the Bible, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? So without discipline, the child is not going to show any respect. All right, none whatsoever. They're going to back talk. That's disrespectful. When you back talk, go to bed. Why?
Why? Because
you
you're an
mean,
authority
why?
figure and you don't like to be challenged.
Your mother.
You don't like to be challenged.
Your mother and
because
father
you think everything
is the
you do and say is
authority
right.
figure in your home.
We're not
They
talking
the
about mother
head
and
of your-
father.
that's what we talking
no,
about.
we not. He talking about outside in
But
public.
let me say this. So even
talking
though
about
that I'm
pure- I'm
wrong,
I'm
even
talking
though
about
I'm
starting with the
wrong,
home, I'm
in
talking
my
about-
day, even though an adult was wrong, a kid still showed respect.
Because they knew their
Now,
place.
now,
You
now,
a
now,
child,
now,
you
I'm
in your
gonna say this.
place.
I'm gonna say this. The breakdown starts when they broke the family down and took the church
Well,
out.
can we say this
Sure
first?
did.
Can y'all give me an example of disrespect? Y'all have
Okay.
not given me one
Well,
example
I
of
was-
But I
disrespect.
did say, I said first,
I was about
I
to-
said cussing in front
And then
of
you
adults.
said they learned it from you. So what is
I'm gonna show you a
disrespect?
class.
Give me
It's still,
something.
I don't care.
Give me
If I am
something
responding,
good.
That is still disrespect.
Give me something
give you
good.
a
Even if they see me
So you
cuss,
should blame
that is
yourself
still-
then,
I
because they
mean-
learned from
I
you.
mean,
Don't blame Generation Millennial. Blame yourself because they learned from you.
But I'm gonna give you an example of disrespect.
First of all, okay.
Tone silly.
Adults use adult language. I never.
But
as
they
a
learn
child,
from you.
I
They
use
learn from their
adult-
father.
I never, as a
just
child.
because they learn don't mean they supposed to do.
No,
Exactly.
they learn by the
Exactly.
example set for
I
them.
understand what you're
They
saying.
learn from the
but
example
that
set
don't
by
mean they're
them.
supposed to bring it out the house.
Okay, but that's their father.
Okay, first of all,
So
it
who
could
else
be-
they supposed to follow?
No. It could be my fault, but does it make it not disrespectful?
Is it disrespectful for you to curse in front of them?
No. That doesn't make. No,
Is
no,
it
no.
disrespectful for you to
Don't
curse in
answer
front
a
of them?
question. Don't answer a question. Ask the question.
I've already answered the question. No, it's not disrespectful to me. No, it's not disrespectful. What's disrespectful is seeing somebody walking down the street and just bumping them and trying to start a fight for them.
That's what
that
they
would
do.
be disrespectful.
Remember the knockout game?
People have been doing that
Remember the
forever,
knockout game?
Sax. That's nothing new. The time
We
we
wasn't
live
doing
in-
it back in my day.
The time, maybe you didn't experience, but the time we live
They
in
didn't do
right
that
now,
in my- they didn't do that
Sax,
in my day.
This 2018, this era we live in right now is less violent than any other era
Was
in
nobody
human
in-
history.
no
the
one in
murder rate has been on the
1960
decline for the
no-
last 30 years.
No kids in 1960 or 70 was going around playing the knockout
Man,
game,
please. Okay,
knocking
whatever.
people out just for fun.
What it
That
says you.
did not happen.
Says you.
So
Says you.
I'm not sitting here lying.
Says
I didn't
you.
grow up to be
Says
58
you.
years old.
I've heard stories. No, because
one-
I
for
know
one
I've heard
thing-
I
plenty of
didn't watch
stories.
this in the
I've
ghetto.
heard plenty of stories of my own uncle picking fights with the police, taking on 5 or 6 officers at a time. You want to talk about respecting authority? Was he being disrespectful, or was he just a wild
but he
dude?
was an adult. There's a difference between adult and kids.
He was
now.
a young adult.
But it's an adult. There's a difference between
But
adult
one thing, you
and
know, one
kid.
thing I
What's
really
the
don't
difference?
like.
There's
What's
a
the
lot
difference?
of difference.
Yes,
between
so
the
what's
two.
the difference? Right, yes,
Because-
it's
because-
phone
What's the
number right
difference
now.
if he would have been
let me
15
te-
years
let me
old
tell you-
doing that
look, let
as
me tell you-
opposed to
let
a
me-
20-something
Let
year
me tell you
old?
the difference. This is the difference. As an adult, I may do something. As a kid, you may see me do something. But you don't do what I do as a
It's
kid.
worse for the adult to do it.
That is true.
It should be expected for kids to do that type of
It's
stuff.
worse for the
Adults
adult.
should set a better example.
Wait a minute, I agree with that. But the difference is, Tom, just because I do it as an adult, okay, doesn't mean
But
that
once
you-
again, we're
you
talking about
betray.
kids. These are impressionable kids. They're going to learn from what they see.
And impressionable kids have to understand.
So don't point the finger at the
No.
youth and say that
Both
they're
have to learn.
disrespectful.
Honestly,
Blame the adults that they're learning this from.
Wait a minute, both have to learn. I agree with that. Both
Okay.
have to learn.
No. You're 100% right. One thing I can't say that my father a little bit, but my grandparents never cussed around. I never heard my grandmother's cuss.
My parents never drank
I
or
never-
smoked around me.
Yeah.
So therefore,
I went through that. I
Well,
went through that.
Jay,
you know what I'm
Jay,
saying?
let me tell you this. As a parent, I may cuss around my kid, okay? But let me tell you this. My kid is not going to cuss around me.
I didn't cuss around my mama.
Because as a parent,
Oh no.
if right now, if I say a cuss word and my granddaughter sitting upstairs right now say that cuss word, I'm smacking the taste out of her mouth.
Okay, but
But
when
that's the
she's not
difference.
around you, she's still going to say it, though, especially because she hears you say
Wait,
it all the time.
That's okay. And that's what I mean by respect.
But that's okay.
That's what I mean by respect.
That's not respect. That's fear.
That's okay.
fear.
No,
because
no.
That's
Fear.
fear.
That's
fear. That's not respect.
No.
That's okay.
To this
because,
day, I don't cuss in front of my mother, but I cuss.
Wait a minute, because if she does,
But I don't fear my mother, but I respect my mother.
Okay, but that's not what he just said. He said if he hear it, she gonna get the shit smacked out of her. That's fear. That's not respect.
And that's what's supposed to be fear, because when she goes out into the street, when she goes out, when she goes out in the street,
if I don't fear you, I'm not gonna respect you.
Just like my boys right now.
Think about that.
Why not?
Because
so you saying you fear? So all the people you respect, you fear.
No.
You fear the authority that you respect.
Well, let me tell you
this.
As a child, hell yeah. Because let me tell you what fear was. Let me tell you what fear was. See, you got the ride spirit on your ass, but let me tell you what the fear was.
You.
Because you didn't have. Wait a minute. You didn't have your. No, your daddy did not strip you naked with a Cadillac.
He wasn't around. I was getting my ass beat by my babysitter when my mother was at work.
That ain't a whooping. That ain't a whooping.
What you mean with them fucking rubber racetracks they used to have?
Let me tell you what a whooping.
I ain't never had no ride spirit on me.
That ain't a whooping. That ain't a whooping.
Whatever, man.
Wait a minute, for real.
That ain't no whooping.
Compare
Hot wheel track.
I'm not
even for real. A hot wheel track for real.
I'm not saying that's the worst of it. I'm saying I've been getting my butt beat by my babysitter for how old was I had a babysitter? 5, 6, 7 years old.
Why was your babysitter beaten?
I don't remember.
Okay then.
I don't remember.
That's the problem. That's the first problem. That's the first problem. If you can't remember why you got the whooping, you ain't gonna improve.
Can you remember what you was doing at 5, 6, 7 years old?
Oh yeah.
What was you doing at 5, 6, 7 years old?
What I was doing at 5, 6, 7 years old?
Yeah.
I was running around in the park, and you know what my mama told me? Let me tell you.
Every kid running around in the park at 5, 6, 7 years old.
Let me tell you what I remember. When the street lights came on, my little ass was sitting on the porch.
Okay, let me ask a better question. Do you remember the reason you got every ass whipping you got at 6, 7 years old?
Yes, I know most of the ass whippings I got. And most of the ass whippings, I got, Tone.
Whatever,
Tone, you don't got to believe
that
me.
That mean you ain't got a lot of ass whippings then.
No, I got a lot of ass.
That mean you ain't get a lot of ass whippings then.
And you know why I got ass whippings, Tone? Most of the ass whippings I got was because I either disrespected an adult by not doing what they told me to do. Wait a minute, you asked the question.
You just guessing right now.
No, I'm not guessing anything.
You said it was probably because.
No. I said, I tell you what it was.
Okay, well, I can say it was probably because I did something that I wasn't supposed to do.
But
that's why I got my ass beat.
The difference is this, Tom. Wait a minute, the difference is this, okay? Discipline in the house teach discipline in the streets. Because if you know you're going to get that whooping when you come home for doing something, you're not going to do it. If you knew that.
But that's not respect. See, the conversation was respect. Respect is
I'm
not going to do it because I'm not going to do it not because I'm scared to get my ass whooped. I'm not going to do it because I know it's not right.
There you go.
That's respect.
There you go.
Fear of getting an ass whooping.
It brings respect.
All these dudes that's going to jail that ain't built for prison. They know that they don't want to go to prison. They gonna get their ass beat. They might get sexually violated. They scared of that. They still go out and commit crimes.
And they go to jail.
Okay. Fear is that's not fear and respect is totally separate entities.
I'm talking about more. It's a loss of moral awareness. People are not moral anymore. Like for instance, I was just thinking about this. For the average, to see a girl sit there and get beat up, and sit there to record it, stuff like that.
And the only reason you seen it recorded because of the technology. Women been getting beat up and raped from the beginning of time. So what are you talking about?
I'm talking about a woman.
I don't like people standing around watching it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm talking about what I just said.
They might just be as bad as the people that's doing it. What you mean? It ain't got nothing to do with this generation is any worse than any other generation. Rape and murder and assault.
I didn't mention
and
rape
bullying
and murder.
has existed since mankind has existed.
And I've said anything about rape and murder.
But that's basically what you saying.
No. I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not beating them on the bush. I'm not speaking in riddles.
You said beating a girl up.
I mean,
okay.
I'm saying
that's the example you gave, right?
For one, just like this is like a lack of morals.
John.
There's a lack of morals. If you don't think there's a lack of morals,
listen.
I mean,
I think it's the same lack of morals in some people that it has always existed.
There's
always been people without morals. That's why we have evil people.
If I let
that's where this concept comes from.
But listen,
John, we have the mafia is respectful.
John,
they're gonna
respectful
be
to who?
To
the people they care about.
I mean, exactly.
They don't respect no law. They don't respect people other ethnicities that they don't like. They don't respect them. So so what respect are we talking about?
If I let y'all talk to Mama Sax, man, she'll tell y'all exactly what we talking about.
Go ahead.
Y'all need to talk to Mama Sax, man, because Mama Sax, man, will tell you how it was back in the day.
But
you
first
need
of all,
to hear,
I mean,
you need to
first
hear.
of all, I think it took prayer and corporal punishment out. That has a lot to do.
Once
with it.
once
they
they
want
removed
give
it,
these teachers
once they removed
give these teachers guns. No, give the parents back belts.
Once they removed
Stuff
capital
like that.
punishment out of the homes and out of the schools, they took prayer, they took the pledge of allegiance to the flag, they took everything that kept kids rooted in respect. Once that left, the kids felt there was nothing there to stop them.
But Saxman, I'm gonna go a little deeper than that because I don't think it was corporal punishment and all that. I think the problem is once they took God out of the home.
As I said, prayer. Once they took the prayer out, once the prayer was gone, that was all she wrote. Because there's nothing there
No matter
to keep
what
them
religion
rooted.
you believe in, God is still
There
God.
was nothing there to keep
God
them
is
rooted.
still God.
It's gone. It was
And if
gone
you have
after
a
that.
respect for God, whether you're a Muslim, Jehovah Witness, Jew.
What about if you're
Gentile.
a Catholic and you grew up in the church as an altar boy, you was getting raped by the preacher, all your life?
Tone come hard on y'all when y'all talk about his millennials. You know that, right?
Tone can.
But Tone, what about
Tone, you silly man.
But they still
For real.
but they still respect the priest. You know that, right?
No, they feared that man.
Okay.
He was a rapist. They
Okay.
feared him.
But was it more that they couldn't go talk to somebody in there? See, because this is the problem when you talk about that issue. They didn't have nobody they feel comfortable with that they could go talk to or sit down with or tell. Okay, that's the problem. How the priest got away with all that. Okay, that's the problem. How molesters get away.
They was evil people using the guise of religion.
Right, but the
using
kid,
the guise
but,
of
but your
religion.
kid did not feel comfortable with coming to
Of
tell
course
you.
not. Who's going to believe them that the father is
But
raping
at
me?
least wait a minute, but I understand it. But at least like with my granddaughter, when we get into the no zones and we started stranger danger, she has to feel comfortable that if something happens, she can come and sit down with you and talk with you about it. Okay, and that comes back into the training issue also.
I agree
on that issue.
100%, and I feel like nobody's going to feel comfortable talking to somebody who they think is judging them, who they think is pointing the finger at them from the moment they sit down with them, because they automatically include them in a generation that they basically chalked off as being fucked up. Nobody's gonna want to listen. Nobody's gonna want to come and talk to you. If you gonna point at, if you gonna call out the whole generation,
you know what?
They don't have no respect.
You know, you're 100% right, Tom. You're 100% right. And that's one thing.
The problem we have now.
I've told my children, because there's things I went through when I was a millennium. I didn't like that. So I told my children, like, if you feel that I'm doing something that's not right, talk to me respectfully as your father, like Dad. I think you're wrong. And we have a wonderful relationship because of that. They'll check me a couple times. They checked me a couple times. So I just know, like, I wasn't just saying you. I didn't mean to go against your whole generation, but I know some things that
you struck. Hey, you dropped the match on some fire over there.
Yeah. I didn't mean to do that. That's not right.
But
that's
you know,
not right.
but you know, Jay.
But I just like this. It's just so much like, it's some stuff as I've gotten older, I just got more mature and more morally aware. But like, I don't like this certain thing. I don't like people with foul mouths. I don't like foul mouth women.
Man,
No,
that
I do
doesn't make
curse.
no sense to me.
No.
How can you curse and say you don't like people who curse? That's hypocritical. That's hypocrisy in its purest form.
I mean, Tom, how often honestly,
Wait a
Tom,
minute, Jay.
you think I have honestly, Tom, you around me a lot. I'm your barber.
I know you don't talk like that, but
I'm saying, but I'm not perfect.
But you curse.
I do curse.
Okay,
Yeah, I do
So,
curse.
Tom, let me ask you this question.
You just think more, like, especially kids, you think they don't have polish when they out in public talking all wild. Yeah,
that's polish.
That's polish. That's not respect. That's polish. They
That's
don't have respect for themselves because they outside carrying on like that.
But right there,
that's the perfect word.
But right there, hold on before y'all go any further.
I mean, but you got the 44. Our president, the way just look.
But before y'all go right there, bring it back down for a minute, because you know what? I want to say this. We don't have that much time on the thing, and there was a good heated panel discussion there about respecting our kids and going in there. But you know, J Mac,
I got something I want to say. when I was supposed to, on the 4th of July, I was over my daughter's house. And I was talking to my one daughter, the other one that left. I'm like, I know you're grown, but you're going to watch your mouth around me. You can cuss. I mean, come on, I'm not going to try to watch your effort, but you're going to watch your mouth. You're not going to be dropping certain words around me, especially no F-bombs around me. So about an hour later, her mother came through, and she cussed, and she said, "Oh, my fault, Dad." And she corrected herself, and her mother got mad, like, y'all don't watch your mouth around me. You know what I'm saying? Which is
Hey, Sean,
part of the problem. But she's like, y'all don't watch your mouth around me. This is a true story. And y'all don't, when I tell y'all to stop cussing, y'all don't watch your mouth around me.
Sean,
And my other daughter said, but you call us bitches.
Right.
And then, I mean, that's horrible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I have never called, I mean, like I'm saying, I'm not perfect, but I have never called my children up their name, especially a bitch or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, listen.
My phone is not working right.
Mama Sachs, I want you to say something to Tone the Stone in the studio real
Mama
quick.
Sachs, welcome.
Mama, you hear this?
What's that?
Could you explain how the 60s was and how it was raising up the Saxman family?
It wasn't hard at all. It was complicated in a way, but it wasn't hard.
Mama
I mean,
Sachs.
everything we had. It was, well, as far as the work consisting, we didn't make much money, but we all had roof over our head. We had plenty of food, and I only made a few dollars by myself. I raised my kids. I had 4 kids, and I raised them by myself.
There you go. Now, how was it, Mama, when it comes to respect? How was it?
Definitely respectful. My kids were respectful in front of me. I don't know what they did when I wasn't around them. I know my kids was very respectful.
To others as well, right, Mama?
I taught them, you respect elders no matter what. And if anything is wrong or you do anything wrong, you come back and tell me, but tell me the truth. I don't need a lie because I can't help you if you lie to me. I'd rather for you to tell me the truth and I could help you.
Okay, Mom. Thanks a lot, Mom. I appreciate that. So that's going to put Tone the Stone in the stop.
Hey, that
Thanks,
was Mama Sachs right there. But, hey, everybody, before we go off there, I want to say this right here. Tonight, our Cleveland Browns are back in action, and right now they beating the New York Giants 7-3. So we might have a good season starting up there.
Man, we won all our pregame seasons last. We was won 100% of our pre-games last year. Then
hey, and they having a watch party, so I want everybody to break out the Brockworths and everything and the beer and sit back. But, you know, we've been talking about it a little lot today. Mama Sachs just came in and said something about respect. And I have to say this right here. Tony Stone, your generation is a generation that has seen a lot. Okay, I'm going to say this period, a lot. And a lot of them is learning life on their own.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have to figure out how, one, we can talk to them. 2, one thing you said about people keep telling them they messed up. Okay, because you know that's what I tell.
That's true.
Things, but there is a place at the table for them. But then again, there is a place of being held accountable. The same way that we want police officers to be held accountable. The same way that we hold Eric Jonathan Brewer, Saxon Man boy, accountable. The Saxon Man let him off the hook. The weed man.
The weed man. Tone boy.
Same thing that J Mac talking about the shop. This is a conversation that we need to have. And it's a conversation that everybody has to have.
It's time to polish up.
And right. And next week we're gonna have a real conversation because we're gonna jump off the rails with a relationship hour because Mrs. Summers coming back.
Oh yeah.
And she has a guest, and Tone the Stone and J Mac and Sax Man is gonna have to stand up for the mans and tell us what's really going on.
I want to know what Tone gonna be thinking about all this.
I have some questions for Mama Sachs about how many times you got your butt whipped growing up.
But
was it a daily basis? Was it on a daily
I
basis?
kind of
we didn't want to put
wish you
we didn't
asked
want to
her.
put her on.
No. I wish you would have asked her because she'd have been like one time.
Sax, you was
Look,
a sucker.
You
man.
hear me saying it once. If you call her, she gonna say, I had to whoop him once. That one time was all I had
Because
to
you only
do.
got caught one time.
No, that one whooping was enough to say, I ain't doing nothing else wrong
But
no more.
let me ask you this question before we go, because everybody asking this about our Cleveland
I
Browns.
learned the hard way.
Man, that ass whooping, that one ass whooping was enough to last me the rest of my
First
life.
of all, I kept my lip busted. My lip stayed busted from my mother going in my mouth and talking back.
There you
That's
go.
the truth.
There
Yeah.
you go.
My
There you
lips
go.
honestly stayed
Because
busted.
in my
yeah.
day, if you talk back to mom, your lip was
Pow.
what you was
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
My grandmama threw a
Hey,
shoe
y'all got
around
the
the
nerve
corner.
to talk about these kids being
Okay.
disrespectful. I just said that. Y'all was getting y'all lips
We
busted
were
'cause
just
y'all was
bad.
being
We were just
disrespectful.
bad.
No,
Not
no,
disrespectful.
no,
We
no,
were
no.
just bad.
And you know what?
Disrespectful. Yeah,
it was mentioned, but I want
Talking back is disrespectful.
No, we didn't
That's-
rob
that's
nobody.
correct.
We didn't rob
You're
nobody.
right.
We didn't break into
wait.
cars.
You're
We didn't
correct.
do
To
that.
your mama. To your mama.
Wait a minute. Talking back to anybody
To
was
your father.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
To your father. You
That
as,
was-
as you grow up
that-
and
no,
become a man,
talking
you
back
gotta,
to your
you gotta
fa-
start
wait,
testing.
talking
you gotta
back to-
start
I
testing
never
the waters.
did. That's
That
one
could
thing.
be
That's
a
one
You
death
heard.
threat.
Listen,
I never.
you heard.
That's why
Well,
you gotta
back to
do
my
it when you
father.
think when you
Hold
know
on.
you're ready.
Check this
That
out.
could be a death
My
threat.
my father made me cry by this raising his voice to me till I was about 35 years old.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
You heard Mama Sack
But-
say, my kids
Hold
was
on right there.
respectful.
Wait a minute, Sax man. Everybody hold on to that thought right there. You know, tonight we had some good things, and I want to say this right here. We're going to keep on our eye on the East Cleveland situation, and we're going to come back to that. The Cleveland Browns is playing right now, and they throwing it down. Everybody get ready for some football. Jay Mack in the house next week. We're going to have a thing. But hold that right there because it's...
Fan base is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the ramble down the yellow brick road, please believe at the end ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Right there, Shawn Mack and K-16 is in the studio in the Blue Room. You can catch their video live and watch it. J Mack in the house. J Mack, what you got to say before we go?
Well, I'm just blessed for a little stage, man, to have y'all tune in and listen to us every week. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Right there, Tone the Stone. Come on, Tone, because I know they heated you up on that millennial.
You still, I can see it.
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go
The
out easy,
smoke is
man.
burning right there.
He
Thank
turned
y'all.
red, man.
Thanks for tuning in. Those of you out there who listen faithfully, we'll be back here same week, same time, same station, Studio 51, STMK Radio 100. If you're looking for a good time tonight, stop at the Tilt on Lorraine Ladies Night Thursdays. I think they're doing a little karaoke too. Go get your jam on.
Sax Man came in with Eric Jonathan Brewer and put
Yeah.
another hit interview out there.
One more time.
One more time, Sax Man, what you got planned for us for next week?
Next week, I'm gonna have Mama Sax come into the studio, and she's gonna get the Tone. She gonna put Tone over her lap and give him a spanking, show him what he did in '60.
Hey, Tone hasn't had a good whooping.
I know
so
he haven't, because
always said-
he be acting up.
Hey, he don't even know how to go out there and get a switch and not get the big one. You know why he playing?
He want to get the biggest one he can find.
He getting hit
I
with a
ain't-
hot women.
I ain't
He
had
got
to
a
do
Hot
that since I
Wheel
was
track.
about 8 or
Hey,
9
He got a Hot
years
Wheel
old.
he got a Hot Wheel track. A Hot Wheel track. Man,
That's way worse than
man,
the switch.
man,
What you talking about?
hey, that was.
No, it's not.
Hey,
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
them rubber tracks.
That big old Hot Wheel track, that big fat track, that hurt.
But Sax Man, hey everybody, hey, I want to appreciate everybody coming here, being with us tonight. I want everybody to know that we have a lot coming on. We have a lot that's gonna go down with us. Sax Man getting his own show together, the Sax Man Hour. Tone the Stone gonna be hitting some stuff. Thanks to Shawn Mack and K-16 for being with us in the Blue Room. And as always, I'm your host, Shawn L. Until next time, peace. See ya.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio